So I love this little program, and I'm glad it's restarting. When Professor Rotak was my student at Concordia years ago, we had a class called Fine Arts Colloquium. It was Art 100, and it was a one-credit course. And the idea was that first and second year students would take this course, and it met once a week, and we brought in a guest artist, a guest designer, somebody who is local and working in the field, as a way to let people know what are the jobs out there, what does it look like to be in the field, how did you get there, to tell their stories, and to have interaction, and frankly to build community, to help our students network with those students. So I'm glad that you're here. This is a really good crowd. So anyway, the idea of artists supporting each other in community is super important. We have enjoyed over many centuries a relatively high status in culture, a respected status. You know, in the Proto-Renaissance, we began to record the names of artists as great contributors to the field, to the culture, to the civilization. Back in ancient Greece, we know the name of myriad and other artists, even potters. We've recorded the names, right? Because they were contributors, right? They were a part of it. But then there are times when that's not so much, and artists become essentially like bricklayers or plumbers. You know, we need them, but they just do their job, and we don't recognize their role. And right now, I would argue that in the United States, the arts are okay if it's pop art. We know a lot of pop art names. The musical culture and folks like that. And so you think you can dance and American Idol and shows like that sort of raise up the more pop part of the world, but those of us really sort of exploring in the fine arts and doing some sort of serious stuff that is maybe not as easily approachable, is right now not emphasized. You've got entire radio stations and television stations devoted to talking about sports, but the arts section in the paper is a tiny little section only in Sundays. Oh, by the way, newspapers are big floppy things that people use to, I just wanted to blast one past there. So anyway, I am glad you are here. I am glad that you are interested enough, maybe you're required to be here, but I don't want to know that, that you want to hear, well, what is this person doing in the arts? Is there a place for me in the arts? I've got these ideas, I've got this interest, can I make a living, and all of that sort of stuff. And the answer is, yeah, sure, you can. There are lots of jobs in the arts. If you add all of the arts together, we are about 14% of all of the money exchanged in the United States. So if anybody tells you, oh, you're going to starve, you can't get a job, oh, there's nothing you can do in the art, 14% of every dollar exchanged is in the arts somehow. When I grew up, this is me with you. Well, when I was a kid, boy, I tell you, when I was a kid, we had three television stations. We had less than 100 movies that showed up every year that we could select from. Now there are hundreds of television stations and 1,000 movies that are produced every year. So jobs in acting, jobs in makeup, jobs in scenery. There are jobs in the arts, all right? It is a vital place to be. You have to work hard. You have to be good. And in my case, I was not good. I was not a gifted student in art. I loved it, but I really had to work hard to learn my chops in order to be good enough to pursue my career, as an artist. Yeah, and so that's the deal. Show up for life, be interested, and do the work to get to where you want to go. Yeah. So I was thinking about my work and how it lands here at Normandale Community College and how it might be viewed. I am an artist who makes pottery, obviously. I started as mostly a functional potter. I make things that you can drink from and to pour from and to eat out of. This is not mine, by the way, this is a friend of mine. I almost never drink or eat out of my own work. I like to have breakfast with friends. I like to have coffee with friends. So now I'm thinking about my buddy who's right now in northern Michigan, right? But here he is right with me. I love the idea of art functioning and having a job out in the world, right? And if you think about that, that's common, right? We've got pottery, we've got jewelry, we've got fashion design, we've got a lot of art that we simply use. For many cultures, their fine art, their best art, is also used. If you go to West Africa, they strap on those masks and they hold them in their teeth. With a little bar on the inside, so I slap this thing on, hold it in their teeth. 6 foot, 8 foot, sometimes 60 foot tall mask, and they dance. And they allow the spirit world to inhabit them while they dance in respect to their religion. Well, that's a whole different role of art than something pretty hanging on the wall, right? It's a different definition, right? More or less pretty. Yeah. So if you go to China, right? Ancient China. You know what the first art form was before painting? Archery. Archery was defined as an art form before painting was. Calligraphy, beautiful handwriting, was an art form before painting was, right? So the role of art in society changes, it varies, and we happen to be in this, wonderful, odd 21st century where we get to know about African art and Chinese art and Indian art and Native art, First Nations art, and then the art that comes out of the Western tradition, and pick and choose things that make sense for us. It is incredibly rich for stimulation, but in a sense, it's also incredibly selfish, right? I get to make my stuff. And if somebody else doesn't like it, too bad, Doesn't matter, because I'm doing my thing. And my influences, the things that are afoot in my work, range widely because of my ability to educate myself in art and cultural history. That pot is fired in an Americanized version of a medieval Japanese firing process. Well, there's another pot in here, that one right there, that's fired in what's called a sagger. That's a box, a clay box that I put inside the kiln, and I load it up with nasty burnable stuff, and the flame paints the pot. Well, saggers were invented in China in order to protect the pots from all of the burnables that are blowing past it so that they can make those beautiful, pure Chinese porcelains. Well, we Americans, we just flip that on its head. We throw the burnable stuff on the inside, right? All of these things, right? I'm an art historian, so I love the work of Constantine Brancusi and the elegant minimalism. And so I have elegant minimalism in some of my forms that I'm referring to. I've got a great knowledge of ceramic artists since the 1950s who redefined the ceramics world, right? My mentor was Don Wrights, one of the sort of great names, and his physical expressionistic stuff, well, that shows up in some of these mark makings and this kind of crusty feel over here. And so I get to select from a variety of sources to make my artwork unique to me. It's the 21st century. It is the post-modern era, meaning that I get to select. I don't have to say, this is the style of the day. The style of the day is ours. It's an individual style, right? So very, very cool. Some of my drawings are dense and complex and expressionistic. Some of them are minimal and fluid and organic. Some of my marks are geometric and angular. A little influence of, well, what movement would angular abstraction be? In a modernist time period?
I can't remember the name of the period, but like the period that Picasso and then there's
That's the one. Picasso's period.
With, like the woman going down the stairs.
Yep, Cubism. There you go.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's the one. Excellent. Yeah. And the new descending the staircase, Cubo-Futurism, Marcel Duchamp, right? Yeah. I was just teaching about Cubo-Futurism last week before break, right? Very cool stuff. And so my knowledge of that all of a sudden shows up coming out of my hand, right? It's been processed in my brain. It's been processed in my heart somehow. And, well, gee, for this teapot, angles. For this teapot, flowing, gentle, more Matisse-like, I hope, perhaps, right? Or Art Nouveau, the design movement turned in the 20th century, right? So we get to have this incredibly broad vocabulary in order to be selfish in our studio. Wow, that's cool. And then, you all show up and look at it, and you can deal with it the way you want. You might say, I really like that. No, that's not for me, not my taste. Right?